Welcome back Under the Rug, and I am extremely excited. I am honored because I have two wonderful, beautiful women with me to have a serious discussion, and they took the time out of this extremely important night for most people, probably half the world, of watching Freddie versus Jason, aka the U.S. elections 2016. So I really don't care about the elections, to be honest with you. So I decided to do it tonight and discuss a very important issue that is pertinent in our society today, which is which movie was better, Frozen or The Lion King? Now, only playing. Okay, so we're going to discuss corporal punishment is the proper term, I guess you would say for it. And the topic is to beat or not to beat. And this is a very controversial topic because in our culture especially, we have many people that support beating on their children. I ain't gonna call it spanking. I ain't gonna try and make it sound a little lighthearted because people like to use different adjectives to describe, what they do to their kids to try and lighten it up and make it sound better than it actually is. I call it abuse. Some people don't like when I say that, but it is what it is. And I have a confession to make. Full disclosure. I also subscribed to the cutting hip at one point because, like I said, it's in our culture, it's ingrained in us from birth, and it's norm in society, is socially accepted. People not only support it, but they champion beating their children. So I, too, at one point, was for beating children. And even recently, because my daughter is 4 years old now, and recently, as I think she was, when did I spanked her before. I will admit, I've done it before. When she was, I guess, when they're over a year, they start to understand. And when you feel like they deliberately disobeying you want to give them a little tap. So I've, done a couple of taps here and there. But I started to reevaluate things. And I looked at it again and decided that what I was doing was inappropriate. Very inappropriate. And I remember one moment when it actually happened. It was a time my daughter was, jumping up and down in the bed. And I guess I was trying to do something while she was jumping up and down in the bed. And what I did was kind of like a sweep, like knock her feet from under her, and she fell on the bed. Now it's in the bed, so she didn't hurt herself or anything. But then I sat there and I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I was like, what I had to do was I had to ask myself, like, if I was to witness someone do this to my daughter, how would I feel? And in that moment, I was like, I would be incredibly upset if I saw someone treat my child like that. So I had to say, I was like, so if I won't allow someone else to do this to my child, why am I doing that to my child? I'm supposed to be the person providing all the love, the care, all of that stuff. So I shouldn't be the one that's imposing abuse on the child. So from that day forward, I decided I was not going to spank my child, not going to hit my child, not going to use any form of physical abuse, against my child. And from then, I have, not been, beaten, spanking, whatever you want to call it. And I can honestly say that I still get the results that I want because it's a matter of learning your children and learning what makes them react in certain ways. You can take stuff away, you can do stuff, like if they like to watch TV or they like something to eat, they like to go to the park, whatever it is that they like. If you take those things away, they tend to follow your orders. So I don't run on for a long time. Let me just introduce my guest. I'm being very rude right now by talking for too long. So let me introduce my guest. I have my wonderful cousin, Tick Knowles, a.k.a. Jayde Knowles.
It runs in the family.
Yes, it does. It's a family trait. You can tell us. We can't hide when we go out. When they say Tick Knowles, everybody is look. And then we also have Quera joining us for the first time on the podcast. Jayde as well. Also first times on here. Yes.
I have a lot of spanks on my
You have a lot of spanks.
Yes, and I agree with you. Yes, Shanika.
Oh,
yes, Whitney.
Spankers everywhere.
Okay, so let's get into it then. Jayde.
Yes.
You being the supporter of cutting hip, please tell us, why is it that you support it, and what are the results, or what do you feel the results of, beating your child are?
Well, seeing that we have a lot of live feeds, people who don't know me, I am a mother of a 2-year-old. So obviously I'm just in this mothering role. However, I've been around children my entire life. I've coached children for the past 14 years, and there are also younger children in our families. And children nowadays are just plain stinking rude. I'm not saying that you have to kill children. Yeah, no, children are rude. Children are
Hold on.
rude.
Now, where you think they get it from?
What you mean? They watch it on social media. They watch it on TV. They don't mimic the things that a lot of children do. They can't say they mimic it from adults.
Oh, they do. Trust me.
Not everything.
It's not going to be
children
everything.
Test your patience. That's the point of them. I'm not saying.
What you mean they test your patience?
Children test your patience.
No, I wouldn't say the blanket statement that children are rude. I think, and this was something that I could say because I was guilty of this. I had to come to this realization. 2-year-olds are difficult creatures to not lay out during the course of the day-to-day. That was my experience. I love my son. He's made parenting easy. That's like honest. He's made it very easy for me. But that age was a transition with his first kind of taste of independence and his own opinion about what he wants and how he wants and what he wants to do. And there was a point, because for full disclosure, I've spanked him before, but I felt so awful. I felt he looked at him.
Look at you, man.
No,
oh my God.
when he looked at me, look in his eye, I was so confused. Like, what are we doing? What's going on? Right. I felt so awful. I was like, to me, it didn't trigger that automatic correction switch that people always say they experience with their kids. It felt to me, he looked at me with a look of like betrayal, like, why are you hurting me? Kind of, this is not what we do. But I think what I had neglected to understand in my challenges with his terrible toddlerhood was that he doesn't know. They're not rude. They are unsocialized little people. So they're impulsive and they are selfish and they are
human beings.
They're human beings. But we are as adults, we are conditioned to behave a certain way in society and with each other. So with them being blank slates, basically, you have to start over. Like, you have to say, like, a lot of times I would get so mad. I'm like, why do I have to tell you this? And I was like, I realize you literally have never been in this position in your life, you know? And so and that's not to blanket, because I have been around, like, I don't like rude little children. I don't beat my baby. But I will also, for disclosure, admit that there are other people's babies. Let me tell you something.
Come on now, Kira.
Wow.
Kira, you got to be consistent now.
Wow.
Come on now. So you wouldn't beat your child,
I
but you...
don't beat my child, but some of these people don't raise their children.
And
when y'all bring your little stink rude children who kick in and spit.
No, man, hold on. Let me defend the children right now, because Jayde said children are just rude, and you said some people just have some stinking rude children.
Because they have not put in the work or whatever going on with your kid, like, you know.
Well, let me go back, and I don't think you should blame the child for the lack of parenting, that they just not been raised properly. That's so it's not the child's fault. You know what I mean? And like I was trying to tell Jayde, children, for the most part, learn most things from what they see. They mimic what adults do. That's how they learn. You don't teach your child how to speak. They mimic you. They're around you enough, and they pick up. They use context clues, and they pick up. So it's not just speaking that they pick up on. You know what I mean? They pick up on your actions, because there are times when I say things, and then my daughter says it later, and I can't even be mad at her because I just say it. So I would be a hypocrite by punishing her for something that I'm doing or saying. And I think in this country we lay the foundation of hypocrisy. We raise our children with a foundation of hypocrisy. And everybody, I'm sure you've heard it before. Exactly. I'm sure everyone has heard that before. Do as I say, not as I do.
Listen, obviously, yes, that's how parents are, because we know we've all made our mistakes and we kind of want our children to be these perfect little angels, and we know they're not going to. please don't get me wrong when I'm saying sitting here, because I'm for team spanking, that does not mean that you have to spank your child for every chance you get. No, I agree in all the different types of punishment or the different versions of punishment, whereas you try to take something away from a 2-year-old. Again, I'm using a 2-year-old because that's what I have. Or you try to put a 2-year-old in the corner. Her school has also tried to tell us that's the way to try to discipline your child. Try not to spank. And you put her in the corner for the same amount of time, or how old she is or whatever, which is 2, so 2 minutes. Now, I've learned that because my child lives with me, she does not go in the corner. You put her in the corner, she doesn't stay. You ask her to go in the corner, she doesn't stay. She tried it with her father, and apparently it works there. They tried it at school, and it works there. But at home, okay, but at home, she does not do that. And there is a male figure in the house. My father is there, and we will row. And I don't mean like scream at her, but like, you're not supposed to do that. And I could give a prime example. Okay. Just last week, I couldn't wait for this podcast. Just last week. It was a Tuesday night. I'm in the kitchen cooking, cleaning up, whatever, and now I'm supposed to be inside her room watching TV. I realize it got a little too quiet. I look inside
the room.
Silence.
That's deadly.
All over my bed is powder. All over the bed. I literally had to come in there. I couldn't even say anything. I composed. I was like, a 9. She looked at me.
Like
I said, a 9. Why did you do this? A 9. Why did you do this? Mommy, look. So
trying to distract.
I told her, took the powder away from her. Don't do this again. This is not good. Look at the mess. Where's mommy supposed to sleep? So we cleaned it up. I gave her a towel. I took a towel and we cleaned it up. I'm pissed. But cleaned it up. Moved the powder. Okay. So now Thursday night, I'm thinking, okay, the powder
fed too.
She figured, okay, mommy didn't do anything bad, so let's try something a little bigger. She went for the powder again. It was all over her, all over the bed, all over the floor this time. I literally grabbed this little girl. I said, a 9. What? Didn't I tell you not to do it? I'm sorry, mommy. I said, a 9. Look at the mess. Just look at the mess. Again. Did not spank her.
Okay.
This is now the second time in a week. Because again, she went bigger.
Right.
Did not spank her.
Right.
So this is now Friday night. I've already put the powder high enough for her not to reach it.
You sure?
There was a medicated powder on the dresser. She's never seen this powder. Never even knew it was powder. I don't even know how she got to it. Again, I was in the front room. Came in there because it was just too quiet. And this little powder that cost about $30. It's about this big.
It's good powder too.
It's about this big. She has over everything.
Right.
I tore that ass up. I tore her little behind up.
Okay.
And then she went into bed and she cried her little self. And then, mommy, I love you. And I said, I love you too, but what you did was wrong. You know better. Mommy. And she cried and then she cried herself to sleep. And the next morning I still got a hug and kiss. I love you. I said, I love you too. She knows. She knew she was not supposed to do that. But no, it was fun to her. She wanted to make whatever that was she was making. Point is, if I had spanked her the first time, would she have done it the second time? Who knows? If I had spanked her the second time, would she have done it the third time? Who knows? At the end of the day, I will try all tactics before I decide to spank her.
You'll try a few.
I'll try a few.
Don't say all.
However the case may be, it's still a 2-year-old. Even you said you spanked your toddler before she got old enough for you to realize.
No. Hold on. No.
And then you realized you didn't want to do it.
No, not Jayde. Now this thing recorded, so you can't put words in my mouth now.
Hey, Shane.
I said I did it before, and I didn't stop because I realized, she too old for that now. No, I stopped because I realized what I was doing was wrong. What I was doing was bullying a little child. And people don't like when I say that it's bullying, but it's exactly what it is. And if you don't believe me, you can look up the definition of bully. And it's exactly the way that we parent. We bully our children to control them, or at least attempt to control them. And I could tell you, well, at least I could speak for me. I can tell you now, cut-up don't work, buddy.
It didn't work.
Cut-up don't work for me. Because I used to get beaten more than I used to probably eat.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
So you know what time it is. I just a rebel. You understand? So cut-up in.
But did it make you a bad person?
Yeah. I was waiting for you to come for that. You take a little long because that's normally the first defense people have. Look how I turn out all right. Well, look at this. What that is you are justifying a bad act with an outcome that happened in spite of the bad act. So you doing that is like what I like to use, and I like to go extreme because sometimes you just have to go extreme for some people. I know a couple of people that were molested as children. They turn out all right too.
Yeah.
Does that mean molestation is fine?
And on top of that, if you are saying that you are all right, that's relative, because as an adult, like I used to get beaten growing up. Not a lot. I was a good kid too, but I mean, I had my time.
Everybody said he's a good kid.
That's what I remember. That's what I remember.
Uh-huh.
But coming out of it, I didn't feel like it was the right thing to do to continue the cycle. And so to me, when I hear people say, oh, I'm all right and I used to get beaten, when I already see you like punch down your 9-year-old, like you are not all right.
Exactly.
That's not okay. You know what I mean? You did not make it out okay, because for you, it's still programmed in you that it's okay at a solid 150, 200 pounds heavier, 5, sometimes 6 feet taller than your kids. Like, you are a behemoth mass of person coming at a 2-year-old, you know what I mean? And to me, it is. And I get that people say that it sounds dramatic when you say it, but I put myself, the look, that one time I hit my kid, the look in his eyes, when he looked at me, I was like, I don't ever want him, and maybe it's not everybody else's experience, that was just what mine was. I don't ever want him to feel, I felt like I was taking advantage of the situation.
Right.
And even in not beating, because before I had a baby, and people may still feel like I'm miserable and biggity or whatever.
You're still biggity.
The improvement, like my level of patience that I will take with people, I amaze myself. I don't, like, I fail some days, but like some days that I don't fail, I surprise myself because I'm already so practiced in taking the time and talking something out. And we underestimate the power of the guilt trip with these kids. They don't want to hurt you. They don't want to disappoint you. And so when I talk to my son, when he do something to me, and I tell him how it's affecting me beyond the lesson, I said, you have like a responsibility. I don't behave in ways that hurt you or that put you in a position to fear. I said, don't do this to me. This is not what we're doing. I know I'm not your friend. You know what I mean?
That's how it comes off.
Oh, by
Hold
no
on,
means.
You should be, though. You should be.
Not yet. I don't know.
Here's why.
Not yet.
Greg, I still disagree with you, though.
Okay, but here's why.
Not yet.
Okay, right, fine. That's fine. You know, you don't have to be a child friend, but I can guarantee you there's a pedophile, a prostitute, a gangster that would love to be your child's friend.
Well,
and if they don't get that companionship and friendship from you, they can seek it elsewhere. And this is where it comes from. Oftentimes,
Greg,
not all the time, but
though.
Sometimes it comes from these other outside bad
Greg,
influences.
there's a difference. You just used the word friend. First you said be your child's friend, and then you said if they don't get that companionship and friendship, your child still gets that
No,
companionship.
I say they'd love to be your child's friend.
No, I'm saying, but first you said a parent should be their child's friend.
Yes.
Or somebody else would give them that companionship
No, I
and
said,
friendship. I'm saying you're adding in a word. A parent is still giving their child that companionship, but I feel like every child should also know the difference. There's going to be plenty chances where my child will have plenty of friends.
What you mean know the difference between what?
Our child should know the difference that there is your parent. I listen to my parent. Being your friend, I don't have to listen to my friends. So why am I trying to only come off as being your friend? Like, for example, and this is something you speak about all the time. Your daughter calls you Greg. I so hate that.
Why?
Because I feel that is so disrespectful. I feel like a child should know that there's a reason why you're given. No, there's a reason why you have a status in the child's life. You're her parent.
Okay.
So why?
Let me ask you this, Jayde.
Like if his child was to call me Jayde, I would not answer.
Jayde, let me
Auntie Jayde to you.
Let me ask you this, Jayde. You ain't answering the question. I asking you why. What? You know what that is?
I said it was disrespectful.
Okay,
I said that.
Okay. Why is it disrespectful?
Because your child has to learn some type of respect with you.
Okay, what makes you think that she doesn't have respect for me?
She calls you Greg. She tells you what she wants to do. I feel like she's spoiled.
So based on the fact that she calls me by my government name that's in my passport, that means that she has no respect for me?
That's your child.
Hold on.
That's yes. That's what I'm saying.
So you think that my child does not respect me because she calls me by my first name.
That's one of the reasons. I feel like that's what leads to a lot of things, because I feel like then she feels like she can talk to you how any other adult can talk to you.
Let me tell you
I've watched her do that.
But let me tell you this.
Because you're just so friendly with her, it's kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. And it's like, does she even know that the difference between a father? Because then I feel like she's then going to turn around and talk to any other adult like that. And that's where the problem lies. It's not just with you and your household. It's what you're teaching her to do outside of your household.
I get that. But here's the thing. See, I think y'all is mixed things up, right? That's just a title. My daughter knows well who her father is and what my position is in her life. She knows who's in charge, and I remind her of that. Mm-hmm. That's just a title. Personally, I feel anybody that insists on you calling them a title has some self-esteem issues.
How is that?
Because you are putting more in the title than yourself. You are giving all praises to the title. The title is everything. I am doctor this, minister this,
you work for these things. I pushed out a whole child for 13 hours. What you mean? So, I'm entitled to that title because that's my only child. I am her mommy. She has no other mommy.
That title
I don't need everyone to call me Jay.
But does that title take away from whatever contribution you make?
It can. That's my first point.
How?
It can, because then from that, she watches what everybody else does with Greg. So for her, from what I'm seeing, for the little things that I've seen, not everything, but I feel like if I'm talking to Greg, having a conversation with Greg, she can come and have a conversation with Greg in between this adult conversation. Well, does she know the difference between there's a child, like
since we going by what we see,
and an adult pedestal.
Since we going by what we see, I see the same thing with your child, and she's called you mommy. There's no difference.
When did you see that though? That's what I'm saying. I've seen the difference.
What you mean?
She's again. Let's not know. Let's look at the age difference.
It don't matter.
No, it does.
Because here's why. I have seen other people's children that call them mommy and daddy do the same thing. The title does not matter. I'm telling you, it does not matter. It's just a title.
Some people. Now I'm not. There's no like day Boogie can wake up and call me Kira, and I answer him because that's just us, you know what I mean?
But that's based off a tradition. That's all it is.
It is tradition because I say it in the same way. Respect doesn't necessarily, you know that you mommy. We just been through this like 2 days ago, and I was saying this is so ironic that you can test me like this because oh my God, he almost get it. We were home a couple nights ago, just chilling out, and he is a huge. He watches a lot of gaming videos and stuff on YouTube. Huge fan, right? Mm-hmm. There's this little kid, this little weird kid. I don't like this kid, right? He screams for no reason. He's just annoying.
Right.
So, but Boogs likes him. So I told him, I said, you want to watch this kid? This little boy is rude. And if you pick up any of this crap, you don't live with his mommy.
It ain't got you.
You live no, not Caillou. Some little weird little British dude, like some
not
Justin Bieber. He's a gamer. Yeah, some Justin Bieber little dude. So anyway, so we there. He's eating dinner, watching his videos. This little screaming kid, and he said, "You didn't get me anything to drink." So I can't even really say because I discuss around my baby, right? So
you could say.
Okay, good. Because I look, my daddy don't not use live.
Carrie, how old you are, right?
My girl is in for a dog ground.
You know that bell will come back out.
My daddy baby. But, when he said it to me, like, my automatic response was like, who in the fuck are you talking to, you know? And he automatically, like, freeze up. Was like, and I went off on him. I was like, listen, I already told you this little shit that you watching on here is a stupid little boy, and I don't know what's going on with his family, but do not cause him to cause you to swallow my fist inside him because me ain't no flipping company.
Kira, you gotta be careful, Kira.
Just like so. Don't mix me up. I don't beat you, but don't test me.
You gotta be careful because he may go tell somebody that same thing you tell him.
Yeah, I know.
But see, and you just proved my point because he's called you mommy, right?
That's what I'm saying now. So it doesn't necessarily.
Just my
it's
point.
not even automatic code of respect, but. In your defense, though, I do see it, Tennille mentioned it too, as a preference. I have friends whose kids call them by their first names. it's new to me. It's not what I do, you know. Only because it's just I haven't come up like that, and it's just it's weird. You know?
I know, and it's what it is.
Yeah.
It's tradition.
One of my watchers
exactly.
says it's manners and respects that rule the world. That's Radina. It will be yes, mommy, no, daddy. I don't think it's just a title. It's a little bit more than that. It just shows that you're giving an adult respect.
No, it doesn't. I could smile in your face and tell you all the nicest things and still be the most disrespectful SOB behind your back.
That's behind my back, but in front of my face, you will be respectful.
But here's the thing. See, people like this illusion of respect just because somebody call you by a title. That don't mean they respect you. That does not mean that. That just means that, okay, right now you bigger than me and you probably can take advantage of me, so I can do what you want me to do right in front of your face because I really ain't want that issue right now.
Correct. That's the same thing what we do with a boss.
That
Most people do not like their boss, but you could be as nice as you possibly can in front of them, or whatever you have to do to keep your job and to make sure you get paid at the end of the month. You think that man cares if you whatever you say behind their back? And the same thing with why I choose not to be a friend with my child right now. But my child knows the difference between friends, adults, auntie, uncle, mommy, daddy.
But I get it. But is it right though?
For respect,
is that a healthy relationship?
To me it is.
Is that a healthy relationship between the worker and the boss? I don't think so.
But you want your job?
Exactly.
Do you want your job?
And here's the thing. And what happens, right? And here's what happens in the workplace. What's going to happen is you're going to do the bare minimum for that. You can do exactly what it is to do not to get fired.
And that's what I experienced growing up with my mom, actually.
And
bare minimum.
And when you, it's a difference when you have a good relationship. See, here's the thing.
It's my boy.
And I say
him by his name too.
I heard this from 50 Cent, right? Respect comes out of admiration and fear. And what we do in the Bahamas is we try to gain respect strictly from fear. I can make you fear me. You can be scared of me. That is not, that's right. But that is not the best kind of respect to get because, again, the person is only going to do what they can to get by right in front of you.
And when somebody that's more fearful than you comes on the scene, like if I'm in charge because I shout the loudest and everybody, you know, I'm mommy and blah, blah, blah. But what if you come against, I guess the same thing you said in the form of like a drug dealer or some negative influence who's shout louder, badder, more intimidating.
Oh, not even that.
Mommy.
You know what they do? And here's the other part of it. The best respect you can get comes out of admiration. Because when someone respects you because they admire you, they do more for you because they want to.
Yeah.
Not because you want or force them to. It's because they admire you so much, they can do more for you because they love you.
And because they know you.
Good question,
the conversation goes a long way.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Trying to get this. All right, just still working on the thing.
Oh Jesus, you working on the thing. Go ahead.
So how do you get a 2-year-old again? How do you get a toddler? Regardless, 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't ever want to do what you want them to do.
No.
So how is it that you can use that to say, I need you to admire me and think I'm your friend, so I want you to do something you're automatically going to do it. If they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it.
Here's the thing. Now, how long you been on this earth? You ain't got to tell your age. Let's say you're around 30-ish.
I'm 30.
You can tell. You're 30. Your child is 2. Who have more experience?
I want to read these comments when you're finished. Show.
Okay, we can read them out, Dan. Who has more experience, Jayde?
I do.
Who has more intellect?
I do.
Who is more clever?
I am. Who
has the most
smart?
Who has the best ability to influence? So you have to
anyone in her life.
You have to then be this is where knowing your child is so important. When you know your child, you can, and I don't want to use the word manipulate because it's kind of a negative connotation in most circumstances, but you can influence them to do what you want to do by knowing what it is they like to do and don't like to do.
I have an example with that too. Even though this is like, you could get 2 daddy points. So this is how my son doesn't eat anything. He's a picky eater. I get annoyed, but he gets it from me. So whatever, right? Nobody be feeling sorry for me. So when he's with me, he doesn't eat anything except nuggets. You know, he pretends to be allergic to literally everything else. So, but anyway, his dad, he came to me one day and he was like, Mommy, because he decided he don't eat chicken or whatever one day that I cooked and he didn't feel like it. He said he was a vegetarian except for nuggets.
Come forward.
So he came one day and I said, well, my preempt to the dinner conversation is, I'm not having it with you today. This is what I cook. This is what is here. We eat this or we go hungry, right? So he come up, oh, I eat chicken because did you know that has protein? I eat chicken and I eat eggs.
Oh, he do research for you.
Oh, yeah, because him and his daddy now already sit down because I guess outside of fighting him to eat what we put in front of him, his dad then turned it into, because my son is like really into, he's skinny like me, but his dad's real built. So he's into like muscles and all this other stuff. So I guess his dad then used that to say, well, muscles come from chicken and eggs and like food. And so I have like a lot, I don't have the same hard time that I used to before with getting him to eat whatever. And so that was just like one of the ways that I was fighting him one way, trying to lecture him to death. Not even lecture him to death, just like, it was threatening him. It was like, eat this or starve, because I got worn out, like fighting him with new cooking this, cooking that.
Right.
But when you take, just like you said, when you know your child, I guess that was a lot less tired, and kids are a lot more accommodating to y'all than their mothers. I am real salty about that, by the way.
But maybe it's the technique that he uses. You know what I mean? Because you sound like the aggressive one.
I would like to interrupt here. Her husband says you can say sexy.
Let's not.
You sound like the aggressive one. And I could give you an example with my daughter. Is you got to call your children bluff, you know. Let's say, for example, just this morning, my child won't play hard this morning, right? So we go into school, get ready for school. I going to take her to school. Kelly, let's go. We go into school. But I watching TV. I say, okay, stay home then. I go outside. Who behind me?
Right behind you.
Right behind me. I ain't had to say, listen, your child, now you cut that TV off and blah, 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 blah. I ain't had to do none of that. All I say is, okay, then I go on.
See you later.
See you later.
And
she come right behind me.
Stay right
she
there.
Doesn't want to be left
Try
behind,
it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, she would stay right there.
You go and close the door?
How you mean? And we have a screen door. And only if she thinks we're not going to where she doesn't want to go, she's going to come, Mommy, come. But if she don't want to go to that place, bye, Mommy. See you later. So you can stay home with Ziggy.
That's your child.
Yeah, you have I don't know. See, I don't know your child. I know what is work for mine. Yeah, you understand? But you know your child, so you know, okay, well, that one don't work, so you could try and incorporate something else.
I do want to say something though.
Neil asked a question.
It's a lot of different ones here, but it was one that Eldon said.
People have questions?
These are mine.
We on Facebook.
Comments.
We on Facebook Live, by the way, for people on the podcast, so you don't think we freaking out. We on Facebook Live, and people are weighing in. Yeah, and apparently we have a lot of people.
We have a lot of people weighing in. Some people are understanding both points. Like I have Sherelle Forbes. She said, I call my mom by her first name, but it wasn't until I was older. She said, when I call her Mavis, that's when we having a friendly conversation. But when I call her Mommy, that's all kind of respect. Mo says, I feel that if you allow a child to grow up calling you by your first name, it gives them the thought that he or they and you are on the same level.
But here's the thing.
Learn to separate your level of friendship and parenting.
Before you ask that, I got part B. You could answer this question at the same time.
You know.
No, that's fine. But I just like to see what happens is it's hard for people to get out of their own perspective, right?
That's so I just like to answer this whole thing, because Tennille could piggyback. Tennille sent a question, took a piggyback right on that point. She said that if you don't think that it will pressure a child that grew up with a parent as their friend to maintain that type of relationship throughout adulthood, do you think that it would translate into something that they feel pressured to do? As opposed to maintain a friendship with you through adulthood because you have introduced someone
said the exact same thing. Does a toddler know how to would they be able to turn it off? They wouldn't know the difference to turn it off because that's how you're raising them now.
No, but here's the thing.
When she gets older, she's going to be like, you my friend. You ain't really.
No, here's the thing. And this is Bahamians, and it may not be Bahamians alone, but Bahamians tend to be bipolar, right? We tend to operate in extremes. So for example, whenever somebody hears, I don't beat my child, you don't beat your child. Well, they just assume, you just let your child run wild and get away with anything.
That's true.
Like with the friend thing, they feel as though I just being, hey friend, hi friend, all the time. No, you have to raise them and you have to incorporate it in different scenarios. So there are times we playing, we friends, we cool, but there are times where, okay, listen, I am your father. This is what I need you to do and blah, blah, blah. So it's not just either you all friend or you all parent. It's a
Right.
balance. And Bahamians don't know how to balance things. They just know how to operate in extremes. You understand? It's either you cut hip or you let them get away with anything.
And we don't question the really why we do anything that we do.
No.
Sania, well known as Annie Jo, she says, my grandfather never laid a hand on me, and I respected him beyond all belief, and I was a handful as a child.
There we
He
go.
was a disciplinarian, but it didn't come from the belt.
And it's
So they say we have
balance.
other persons.
Yeah.
Eldon made a good point. He said you had a point, but he said he feels that your focus was wrong. He should be speaking about keeping an open line of communication with your child. Sometimes, depending on how you discipline, it can prevent your child from communicating to you when it's critical.
Ask him, how is my focus wrong?
Eldon,
Please explain
he asks,
how my focus is wrong.
How was his focus wrong, I guess, on the point that you were trying to make?
Yeah, because I don't understand that part of it.
Alexandra also made one. She said, well, this is on for what I believe. Children need boundaries. Parents and children should have a relationship and should trust each other, but no parent should be their friend. And she's a mother of two.
I just disagree.
2 kids.
I just disagree.
Well,
I disagree.
I don't know. Maybe we're thinking using the word friend in different contexts.
And that's what's going to happen? No.
Yeah,
But I think-
I'm looking at it as one way, and obviously YouTube might be meaning something completely different.
I will say this. I don't feel as if right now I can be Eli's friend. And when I say that in the context of, I generally believe that growing up, you should parent your children. Mm-hmm. And I say that I'm not his friend in the context, I believe that once they are adults,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is your time to be a friend, because I feel like that is the time to like stop parenting because you've raised your children. So that's the time then for you to be friends with them, with your adult children. Yes, because you've already... See, because why I say not friends, when it comes to that kind of bond and relationship, we do the playground. Like if we go to... I mean, Boogie kind of shady. He a lot like me, you know. We kind of shady, so we'll go out for ice cream and sit down and talk about... Yeah.
You are your child's friend.
But it's not in the sense that he feels like...
See what
I
think. Here's the thing.
I have a question.
When you're taking a friend,
because I spank my child, or whatever, if she does get spanking, my daughter and I spend numerous of time together. Mm-hmm. We do the same thing. She goes to soccer stuff with me. We do little things she likes. We go for ice cream. Mm-hmm. We go to Atlantis. We do a lot of little things just for her. Mm-hmm. So is that me saying that I'm not my child's friend? I wouldn't call it my child's friend. I feel like I'm being a parent with my child.
You are your child's friend.
But I'm being a parent with my child. I'm just not going to call myself
I think people are pigeonholing the definition of friend, right? And when they say friend, they mean the friend that I just go to party with and all this stuff. You know what I mean? That's the only way they see friend. Mm-hmm. But friend is not limited to just that. You understand? You do have a friendship with your children. Yeah. And also, let me get into this before we run too late. When it comes to beating your child, right? We know there are lots of people in abusive relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think it stems from this, beating your children. And here's why I say that. Because I hear people all the time whenever there's a woman that's in an abusive relationship, and they're like, oh, she's so stupid. Why is she staying with this person? And how he could love them if he keep beating on her. Well, someone please tell me, what do parents that is beat do?
They tell you they love you. I beat you because I love you.
What the man is say when he beat the woman?
I beat you because I love you.
If you have established this foundation and you have raised this child that hitting in certain circumstances, usually in forms of discipline, is okay, now and they feel as though that a male is the head.
There was a study in the schools
tell me how there's no correlation.
Yeah, the kids were saying that they felt like it was
okay to discipline their spouse.
Discipline your girlfriend, and these were 12, 13, 14-year-olds saying it's okay.
Tell me how it doesn't. Tell me how those things don't connect. Tell me how they don't connect, please.
Did you grow up thinking that your husband can beat you?
No,
Did you grow up thinking that you could beat your girlfriend or fiance or wife?
But here's the thing: you are taking the exception. You are taking the people that.
No. You just said that's what's happening with our children. Who knows whose child is not going to be an exception or not?
Again, Jade. Again, you're being bipolar now. It's not all, but there are circumstances where that's the case.
And even so,
I'm not saying all. I'm not saying if you beat a child, all of them could feel it's okay. I'm not saying that.
I didn't grow up thinking that it's okay, because I used to get beaten all the time, like I had said. I didn't grow up thinking it's okay for my boyfriend to beat on me. I understood. I didn't grow up in an abusive house. I understood that that's not how men and women interact. But there is still a dark corner of my mind that says if you do something bad enough, because that's how I used to get beat. If you do something bad enough, while it may not be right, it's reasonable to think that somebody is going to beat on you. And that thought is in my mind. And whether or not I may give you credit for it, there's still a part of me that would expect it if I do something so bad that you'll put your hands on me.
Because you're so used to it.
Exactly.
You
so I
accustomed
don't,
to it.
right. And so I can't say that, blanket statement that,
Right.
everybody.
Yeah, it's never going to be everyone.
Yeah,
you know what I
but
mean?
I have to admit that there is, and there always as an adult.
I completely
I'm a lot more
disagree.
aware
Why?
of-
Tell me.
Because again, I don't want to say you're saying you're literally calling out as we're exceptions. At the end of the day, no, we were all children who got spanked, who got beaten. And I know me and countless other persons who've gotten beaten. I used to get beaten with every single thing, anything that was in their hand.
But that don't make it right.
I
though.
never said it made it right. The point of the matter is I did get beaten, but I
Right.
never grew up to say that another adult can beat up on me. I knew the
you.
no,
Why?
but I knew
Why is
because
it
I knew
okay
the
for an-
difference.
to
I
hit a
knew
kid
the
but not an adult?
I knew the difference as a child that if I did something wrong, there was a consequence for it.
Yes.
And there were things that my grandmother or whomever believed. Mind you, my father never spanked me, My father never laid a hand on me.
And doesn't it hurt you
my
more to disappoint? Would you never not do anything?
Well, that was
with
just
your daddy?
that was different reasons too. Like my father literally was hardly there because he worked abroad. But I was raised in a house with women,
Okay.
and trust me, I was a very mischievous child. If I did something wrong, I knew what was coming from it, but that didn't make me say, "Oh my God, that means my husband's gonna speed on me."
No.
But that's how you're
no,
making
no,
it seem.
no,
So
no.
if I
Okay,
spank
but let me.
myself and my child
Okay.
be like, "Well, if her husband beats her, she'd be like, well, my
Not
mom
Hold on,
just
Jay.
spanked
my
Let me.
husband,
Hold on.
but-
Let me explain
That's
it.
what I'm saying. Like,
Let
how
me
are
explain it
you
because
even
you-
correlating the two? Like, that to me isn't
let me
making sense.
break it down some more for you then. See, what you are doing is what most people tend to do, right? It's okay. Well, I ain't like that. My friend ain't like that, so that don't happen to nobody. That's not the case, Jade. Yeah, you may know you and countless other people that got beaten and don't think that way. But just like how there are countless people that you know like that, there are countless people that come up under that and feel as though it's justification. You cannot ignore the fact that there are people that feel that way because of the way they were raised. So just because it's not you or your friends does not mean that these people do not exist and that this is not a result and that them getting beating is not what they feel is justification for someone beating on them in the future.
There are a lot of comments on this.
You understand? So that's what I'm saying. Like too many people just feel like they live in a bubble. Like you in a bubble right now. Well, me and my friends don't feel like this, so this can't be possible.
But Greg, I'm saying that also, even if I still feel like you're taking it to an extreme.
But this is reality.
No, it's not.
It's an
Because
extreme
my
reality.
thing is, I know. Let's
You say you're just doing what I just explained that you're doing.
No, but
you say
listen.
no, it's not a reality. So
No,
there's nobody that
I'm
got
not saying
beaten.
no.
Hold on, let me ask you a question. So you're saying to me that there's no one, no young girl right now in a abusive relationship that got beaten. There's no girl that got up and feels as though there's some level of justification for her man beating on her because she was beaten growing up. You feel there's no one like that?
Greg, but I'm saying it's not a very large group of persons. How you're making
What studies have you done?
You're making a general
What-
statement
what's-
now. But
what
hold
studies
on.
have you
But
done?
Hold on. What studies have you done?
No, I'm not making a statement saying
but
that it's not a large amount. You just made a large.
If you use children in the States where they're not even allowed to beat them, I'm not saying that children didn't get spanked in
children
the
still
States.
get beaten in
No,
the
I
States.
know. I lived in the States. I know.
They still get
But
beat.
if you use them, for example, where the vast majority of children did not get beaten.
You don't know that,
And
Jade. You can't say that.
No.
You
We're
can't say that,
going
Jade.
off of the studies that they've had and the rules that there has in America.
And
At
but
the
not
end of-
even just
at the
that.
end of the day,
When
they
you're
still grew
talking-
up and was still in abusive relationships and felt that was fine, and they never got spanking as a child.
You don't know that,
Yeah,
Jade.
but so you can't
Come
sit here
on,
and say
Jade.
that me spanking my child is going to cause them to grow up and think that
I am-
another adult,
I am not
another adult
saying
spanking
that,
on them
Jade.
is okay.
I am not
That's
saying
what
that.
I'm saying. It's an extreme.
What I am saying is there's a possibility. I'm not saying for certain that this is what's going to happen. What I'm saying is you shouldn't be the one to help increase the chances of it happening. because there's a possibility. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen to your child.
Greg, there's a possibility from a child watching TV and seeing that happen on TV.
I agree,
and then they go and say that's okay.
But should you contribute
to it? Should we
it?
Stop doing something just because we think it's a possibility? Like, you cannot stop living big.
No.
So,
let me
you
ask
should stop doing something if you think there's a possibility that it's going to have a negative output.
No.
Yes.
No. Because
so
what
you should.
Beating is, let me ask this question then, okay?
Mm-hmm.
From my perspective, you are introducing, since you don't want to say that you're feeding a mentality to be conducive to abuse, right? You are still introducing the concept of violence being an option to problem solving. Now, let me finish this statement. I am not non-violent. I can't lie. This is live on my Facebook. I was trying to do it on Periscope to be decent. I am not a non-violent person, right? However, I do not teach my son violence. Now, when I do my personal, some of my stuff, I try to keep my business. I'm not perfect, but I don't want.
Just said, we all have flaws.
I don't want to teach that to him to be an answer for dealing with something. I teach him violence is a part of life. Anybody put their hands on you,
you're right to defend yourself.
On.
Right.
And if you lose, you come call your mommy. And if I lose, I come call your daddy. Because this is a long line.
But interesting that you made that point.
Yes, I don't want him to be the person to bully anybody because I'm hitting you to make you do what I want you to do. And so you go then and perpetuate that behavior with other kids or whatever that you are playing with, interacting with or whatever. But I want him to understand, because people will always say, oh, you'll never hit your kid. And when he get a teenager, he'll rear up. My son understands full and well if there is ever the day that he feel man enough.
You're letting all the junglers out tonight.
Because there's a balance of what we got going on. There is no day that you can feel like you was man to rap in my face, because you will get all 5 foot 2 inches of me all up inside of you, and you will get beaten. That day, you will get beaten.
Okay.
But I don't want him to feel like whenever we have a problem, there is always a conversation. And even though there's consequences, just as he don't get beaten, that doesn't mean that he is not disciplined. It takes more time maybe from me. It takes more energy and more attention. But it happens. And to me, at the end of the day, the person that is being produced, he's like a critical, rational thinker. He's very empathetic and thoughtful. You know what I mean? And he'll argue under the table to get his way because he understands that's his way of trying to get anything done, accomplish his conversation and trying to, Now maybe I'll have to deal with him being manipulative or whatever later. But I don't want him to see violence as anything but a necessity. You know what I mean?
And see, and why I said it's interesting that you brought it up, because that very point was actually what sparked the back and forth on Facebook, which led to this doing this podcast. Because I ain't gonna lie, I was trying to put this podcast off for a long time, because this is one of the most passionate issues that I'm most passionate about. But I wanted to have my setup so nice for this one. I wanted to have a real big setup for this one, because I'm so passionate about it. I want so much people to see it. But what happened was I put something on Facebook, and this must get under Jayde's skin. But I was saying, and just what you said, I was saying that, I feel like we have a culture of violence, and we have an issue with conflict resolution. And I basically was saying that anybody that subscribes to beating their children shouldn't be the ones setting whatever policies or whatever.
They can never do what is just the word? Yeah, exact word. Something they can't be used for conflict resolution.
Well, they shouldn't. I basically,
that was ridiculous, because I have. Anyway, go
Here's
ahead.
the thing. It was basically saying that if you believe in beating children, you shouldn't be dealing with conflict resolution. And here's why. Because it's a direct contradiction.
Yeah.
She says it's ridiculous, but it's a contradiction. No, it's not. Here's the thing. If you want to, how is it not when
finish your comment.
See, violence is an option for you. And in a lot of cases, violence is the first, second, or third option for these people. So if you are trying to teach conflict resolution, you shouldn't be someone that feels that violence is an option. Just what Kira was saying just now. She don't want her son to feel like, violence is an option. So I don't feel as though if you like to beat up on, let me not say like, if you subscribe to beating on children, you shouldn't be involved in conflict resolution because you have an issue with conflict resolution because you still resort into violence on a child.
Yeah. Someone you should be able to, just like you
influence.
Say, you have
more
experience,
if you cannot influence a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, something wrong with you.
No,
you are lazy. You are not using your brain.
Again, we
you
disagree with you. Every child is different.
So it's your job to learn your child.
Yes, I'm saying that. And again, I also said earlier at the beginning of this podcast, I'm not saying that you go and you beat and spank and kill your child for every single thing that they do. There are many options. You choose. I keep telling this, your opinion was you choose not to spank your children. But the other words y'all used in that same status was that, spanking a child is the same thing as, what was the word?
I don't know.
Physical abuse.
It is.
It's not. And I'm not. And hold on. There are so many persons who said the same thing. You keep trying to compare these two as the same thing.
Listen to me.
They're not. Spanking, beating, physical abuse.
Tag me in, please.
They're all different.
Tag me in.
No, that's what I disagree with you on.
Here's what Bahamians love to do, and not just Bahamians, but we live in the Bahamas. Here's what Bahamians love to do. We love to redefine words.
Oh, yeah.
We will redefine words to suit our narrative or our belief all day, every day. We will redefine the hell out of a word. So that's exactly to justify our beliefs.
Karina asked for you to define your definition of beat.
Beat is using any form of physical force. If you hitting somebody, if you are using force to inflict any form of pain, that is beating. I don't care if you use a paddle. I don't care if you do it on the hip, on the leg, wherever you do it. If you use physical force to inflict pain, that is beating.
Farrell made a point. He made this point a few times, but it struck to me because it's so real. It's so real to me. If you are, as an adult, are forced to find a way to resolve something with another adult, why then, if it's not okay, if my sister is using something for the third time, the last of my hair gel or something for the third time this week.
So like this happened,
this happened.
This sound poison up.
But if she goes and use it for the third time for the week, am I now gonna get up and go into the bathroom when I go to do my hair and punch her on her head? That's not okay.
No,
and are you saying that we're punching? See, this is where
no. She said that then, but she just
I'm not.
But
just
the words
using an
you're
example.
using is exactly how people are taking this podcast.
So Kira, you're supposed to bend her over your lap and spank her. You're supposed to spank her. Yes.
Going over and be like, why you don't stop touching my?
Yes.
It's weird.
And you know what is another argument to that,
Y'all
right?
are good sisters, because listen, the sisters I know,
but you know what's
we was gonna pull some hair up in here.
You know what is a good argument? She probably deserves the beating more.
Because she know better.
She knows better and chooses not to do it. She has this experience.
Why is it not okay? Why am I forced then to take my time and resolve this with my sister or
I would never
for assault?
Because we don't question.
Karina, I would
these
never
things.
punch my child either, and that's the difference what we're trying to get them to understand.
Like I said,
but I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about everybody else. When it comes to this topic, I'm talking about me and my child.
But you don't have to punch.
Yeah, but me spanking my child, I still don't feel is physical.
Okay, let me ask you this. If you do something wrong, hold on, Jayde. Let me ask you something. You do something wrong, you want your boss to beat you? Spank you? However you would spank your child, you want your boss to spank you?
No, it's a different title. When I was in school and we did something wrong, we got pulled in the office and we got spanking.
That is wrong too. That's what I'm saying.
My teachers all through my elementary.
But see,
it's different. No, different title. I just said that it's different.
You can tell she studied law, right? Because she dancing around this question.
Different. I just answered.
She tap dancing around.
A boss cannot spank you. Cannot beat you.
No, but here's
your parents can.
You missing my point.
Hold on. Your teachers can. I will give the teacher the belt to spank.
Hold on, Jayde. Hold on, Jayde. You missing my point. You missing my point. Is it okay for your boss? Now your boss. He set the rules. He in charge. You're supposed to do what they say, right? Is it okay if you do not follow your boss rules for him to apply the same kind of spanking that you was apply to Anai to you.
That's two different relationships, Greg. Of course, that's not okay, but that is a different relationship. That's a contract. That is a contract between. No, I'm answering your question. That is a contract between me and my boss. A contract. There's no personal relationship there. That's my place of employment. A personal relationship with me, my child, is completely different.
I ain't getting into the personal relationship.
But that's what it is.
What I'm getting into is human being on human being.
No, and that's what I disagree with. That's what I disagree with.
No,
that's what I disagree with. You cannot confuse the two. You cannot confuse the two, Greg.
Alex wants us to clarify the difference between abuse and spanking. And she's saying that abuse is when you leave
It's all in the same to me.
I don't agree with
all in the
either.
same. Abuse is if you inflict in pain, it's abuse. I don't care what your motive is.
It comes off as confusing, Sherelle. It does.
It's abuse. It's not confusing. It's very simple.
No, it comes with the way you compare things. You're comparing oranges and apples.
No, I am not.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
They're both fruits. Yes, we're all humans. They're both fruits, but they're still different fruits. You're comparing two different things.
No, I am not. And here's the thing. We say if it's about, because I do it as a I do it at a simplistic level, very simple basic level, right? Here's the thing. We watch boxing as a sport, right? You have weight classes, right? If there's a boxer that's 6'5", 250 pounds, if he fights a 5'9", 150-pound man, that is considered unfair. However, it is entirely fair game for a 5'6" woman to hit a 3-foot-tall, 40-pound child.
Greg, but the way you are trying to use the word hit, you're trying to make it seem like I'm literally bringing all 150 pounds of myself on top of my 2 or 3-year-old.
What I just said about bipolarism, right? What I just said about bipolarism. I never mentioned how much force.
And it's that's what you're saying.
You go on to the extreme force.
No, but that's how you're bringing it. Why are you bringing my weight? Why are you going to bring my weight and my child's weight?
Because it's a point I'm trying to prove to you.
An intimidating.
It's a point.
Imagery.
How is it unfair?
That's the point, that you want to intimidate
I was just about to say, that is what I'm trying to do. I'm not running the way that I'm not trying to intimidate my child. That's my child.
But you should,
or children on the whole.
I don't think it should be a form of intimidation. And here's why.
That's what you think. But that's what I'm saying. I disagree with your thought on that.
And I can close with this, right? Because we're approaching an hour. I wish we could go for 3 hours, to be honest with you. But I don't want to keep you all too late. Here's the thing, and I can close with this. Look around in society, right? What you see are a bunch of zombies that are afraid to do anything, are afraid to stand up against authority, even when it's abusive, right? And where do you think that is learned? We have been raised to not just respect, but fear the person in authority. Don't question them. Do as they say. Don't bat your eye. Don't have no attitude. Don't do nothing. Just do as they say. And now you have adults that are still operating in the same vein, which is why the politicians or whoever in charge could get away with whatever it is they want to do, because the people in society are afraid to question and challenge them, because they have been raised that you are not supposed to challenge authority. You are supposed to do as you told or fear my wrath.
Yeah, that's exactly. We have a comment saying the same thing. Historically, black people believe beating is okay, because it's what we received and what we learned as a way to gain respect and the results that you need. So,
and that's where the only way I see we got it from was from slavery, because that's the way slave masters control the slaves. You whip them and so they don't do it no more.
Oh, there's so much I want to say. Janine says there's a season in life for everything. There's a time in the children's lives where spanking is effective as they grow older, and you can have more discussion. Discipline may take another form. It's only abuse when you are hitting out of anger because you're frustrated.
You are hitting out of anger.
I never spank my kids when I'm mad. I cool down and then I explain why are you being spanked, and the spanking happens, and that is in no way abuse. Janine, I completely agree.
Every time that I have been tempted
How do you
to hit my
them?
son,
I'm sorry.
It's for me to feel better. It's not for me to make him understand. If I'm going to be honest, it's because I'm angry, you pissing me off, and while I am intentional in the way that I react to him, I am still conditioned the same way to lash out physically, because you are not doing.
How you can tell that ain't true?
That's how I feel.
I know.
The Donald Trump. Wrong.
No, I'm not saying that's not true on you. I mean, as in my agreement with it. No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying that's not happening for you. My apologies.
Man, crap, I done lost my point. That was so good.
I'm sorry.
But that's exactly what it is. I don't agree, and all I'm hearing is people just justifying, and I get it, man. Trust me, I get it. And like I say,
serious.
like I admitted in the beginning, I subscribe to that too. Let me tell you how bad it was. Before I had a child, I was so indoctrinated with this cut nip culture that I used to say, when I have my child, when they start walking, when they start walking, I could trip them down just so they know I in charge.
I should be looking for people during the beat.
Yes, but that is unhealthy. It's unhealthy, and it's gotten to the point to where now we have a celebratory nostalgia when we talk about cut up now.
Even when we talking old stories. Oh, I remember this time my mommy take this pot and plant it upside my
and it's
head
like
because
funny.
I stole food out the pot, and I'm like, yo,
Yes,
that's even I can remember one time when I got beaten. But I never bragged about it. I was so pissed. I just keep talking the story, hoping somebody call the police. I got beaten for another sibling. I had like step siblings growing up.
Right.
And one of them displayed their, and this is another thing why I remember now. I was saying it was beaten out of anger, right? I'll tell this story. It was one Valentine's Day. I grew up with this girl, and she had a boyfriend in high school. My parents were not about that life, right? She wasn't checking. She felt like she was getting good
remember
grades.
this story.
You remember? Listen, I told this to everybody who will listen to me for 5 minutes. So she goes out and she has this boyfriend. Her dad sits down the day before Valentine that fell on a school day and said, no present. She had a boyfriend. You know, I was in the 12th grade. I feel like I grown. So if I have a little flower, I have a flower. He didn't tell me I can't bring nothing. This was her. So she goes to school. Her boyfriend come with this basket bigger than, you know, this is like 98. He spent like $100 on this basket for her, right? So when I saw her in school with the basket, I was like, you missed this whole conversation with your dad this morning? So she was like, well, he give it to me. I don't know what to do. So I said, what to do is let's take out the stuff we want because you can't carry this home. And like, you know, you get to enjoy whatever. She had this whole, you know, where she wanted to be honest with her daddy. So she comes and brings a big basket. Even my mommy, who is no true member, offered to lie for her because she said, this is a bad idea to bring this home. If you give it back to him, we'll all pretend you never got the basket. She had this whole honesty thing with her daddy. She go and bring the basket. She feel like she grown. They could talk about it. He saw it as a huge disrespect, goes outside, cuts a piece of the hose, and come in and like tear her ass up, right? Bursts into my room and asked her, what you get? And I was in like grade 10. I was like, I don't even know why you in here. Me and you ain't had no conversation about no Valentines. I was in the 12th grade, you know, those 7th grade secret Valentine. You do a little dollar bag. You can't.
No, that's probably after my time. I know about that.
Oh, that's a bitty child. I was doing in school.
Ain't nobody do that for me.
I don't think they understand that. I can give that age, but I know that age.
But I got like these little dollar bags.
I 23 by the way.
Strawberry candy, 27. That's my baby, you know. So I got the little dollar bags, and he saw them sitting on top of my bureau. So he come in wailing and like tear up my skin.
Oh my God.
I had to avoid my daddy until those, because I understood the drama that my daddy don't hit me. You know, that's not cool.
Oh, there's somebody else?
There's my stepfather,
yeah. Oh.
And so he went into all this, and it was only because he was lashing out of anger because his ego was bruised because he said in his house not to ting. And so at the end
he probably was buying basket for gals when he was in school.
Oh.
Probably a hypocrite anyhow.
It was completely irrational, his response to it, because it was out of anger.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you were disappointed or if there's a point that you were trying to make that your child didn't get, and your point is for your child to learn this, take the time and sit down and express your point. You can still follow that up with a punishment and be like, you know, you think you was woman, ting. Say that. I am the man of this house. You don't put me in this position when I tell you something XYZ, because then now your daughter understands going forward how her behavior plays into the roles and the relationships and the dynamics of our house and the relationships in our house. That is your children learning from their mistakes. That is them. But you know what he did that day? All he did was cause me go to school with all of these, trying to get my friends, call the cops, and I tell everybody how I hate him and I wouldn't talk. It didn't need to come to that because one, the situation had nothing to do with me, and two, your daughter still didn't understand why you were so angry or why you were so hurt. Because at the end of that, and all the cut ass and nobody, me and her didn't speak for 6 weeks, living in the same house.
Wow.
Because you understand, like all of that to me wasn't necessary, and if that was supposed to be discipline, tell me what we learned.
Exactly.
So that's just like how that was my, and to me that is the consequence of every memory that I have from getting beaten. I don't remember no time when my mommy like tear up my ass and I was like, oh man, I could be a good girl. Every time I get my ass tear up for doing something I wanted to do, I found a better way of doing that without
That's
getting
all you could do. You get more creative.
That's growing now.
So if you don't get creative,
beating them means what? I'm
I'm just
confused
saying,
now. So you
I
don't beat them, and so they feel like they didn't do anything, so I could.
No,
go
it's
and
not
do
no,
about
whatever I
see,
want.
anything,
you see
yeah.
how she
No, but
continues to revert.
This is not. This is what a lot of people are still trying to
But
get
that's
from
what-
both
but
of
that's
you.
what I'm saying.
Then what is it that you do to
Here's-
discipline? Not
okay.
saying that spanking is the only way to discipline
Right.
Here's
a
the thing.
child, but no one's saying
I've already,
what you did.
I've
to
already
discipline.
said what it is that you do. You know what happened? Y'all ain't listening.
It doesn't
Y'all
sound
blocking it
like
out.
discipline to
What
y'all.
y'all doing is y'all listening for a rebuttal. Y'all listening to come back with something. Y'all are not really listening to really
Or
take
looking
in.
for, like, the
Or right,
satisfying
you're
part of
not
the
you're not
discipline.
really
Yeah.
seeking an alternative. You're not. That's not what you're doing, because I've mentioned it many times throughout this episode. But you are still
Why, just
asking,
walking
well, what do
away?
you do? No, here's
No,
the
I'm not
thing.
walking away.
Here's the thing, and this I said this before on a national show when we were talking about this. Here's the thing. I cannot specifically tell you what you can do for your child. And we discovered that earlier when I said what it is I do with my daughter, and you say, well, that don't work with my daughter.
Right.
What I
All
can
different.
tell you to do is learn your children. Develop a relationship with them so that you know how they react to certain things and in certain situations. Learn what makes them tick. Learn what makes them act. Learn what makes them do certain things. Learn your children. And then you will be able to find alternative ways to get them to do what it is you want them to do, as opposed to beating them. That's what I've been saying for the entire time. But if you don't want to hear it, then you won't hear it, and you're going to continue to ask that. But all I'm saying is learn your children. I ain't saying nobody who in here who subscribed to beating children is a bad person. No. I'm not calling it, because I said I was there. I've been there. So you're not a bad person because you're doing it with all the good intent. You want a good intention, right? But I'm saying the act itself is a bad act. You are not a bad person. It's a bad act.
And
So
a
what I'm
counterproductive act.
right, and what I'm offering is just alternative ways so that you don't have to. Sure, things can happen in life to children and people, right? But you don't want to be one that has negative impact on your child. You don't want to be the one that has that negative, because you see, Kira just said she only has negative results from when she was beaten. That's negative memories. You don't want to leave negative memories with your children. So what I am trying.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
No,
that's
that's not.
unnecessary, though.
It is.
No, it's a part. If you make it a part of growing up,
Greg, it was a part of your life.
but it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be. That's not. You don't need to get beaten in order to experience life. That's
I'm not saying that, but I believe that children definitely need to experience the positive and the negative, because when they get into the real world and you only want to
life
give
got
them
negative
positive,
for you.
Yeah, but the
and then
negative-
they're
but
like, well, what is
the
this?
negative-
I've never seen this before in my life, and then it becomes a problem to society
But
because
that's-
you
because that comes
wanted
up.
to
You
create
talk about that
fairies
too.
and
No,
butterflies for your children.
no. See,
Like
you
this-
going again. You bipolar again.
How
You going
am I am literally
extreme.
saying exactly what you're saying
No,
and
you're
how
not.
we're looking at it.
No, you're not. And I want you to listen to this episode and you tell me if
I'm
you saying
going
what I
to.
said. Well, I just see it again. You're not allowing it to seep in. You just.
I definitely need you. I need you to
What
go
I
through these
think,
comments.
what I
though,
think
Greg.
is, though,
no, I can go
Greg,
through them. What is your
Yeah.
personal page?
Yeah.
I'd love to
that
see them.
approach in itself, I don't think is, like I said, satisfying enough for parents. Like when if your child makes you angry, you want to get that energy out, even if you don't beat them or yell at them. Like, I feel like I do something. I feel like I feel like I parented. And so if you're gonna, a lot of people who are accustomed to dealing with things that way, if they take a different approach and be like, oh no, I will lecture you. I keep saying lecturing because my son has the attention span of a wasp, and he would rather just get beaten so I could stop talking to him and he could go watch his videos
That's
than
most
to
children.
sit down. Yeah, because I make you, when I talk to him, I'm not talking to a wall kind of
end of
thing.
it.
You need to answer.
Hold up. But we about to wrap up anyhow.
Yeah, we wrap up.
Yeah.
But it's like, I need you to answer me. This is an engagement. It takes energy from him. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't care. He's 5. He don't care about nothing I run on with.
Well, maybe that's not the way to get through them because he probably blocking out what you're saying.
But
anyhow.
it's more. Well, to me, I discipline him now, and that pain for you to sit down and talk to me is worth it.
Right.
And then you're going to make sure and communicate to me that you understand before you get back to this video. If I decide that you're going to, is some minor infringement, you can just go back about your life. But I mean, it's not necessarily like you say, turn a blind eye and be like, oh, if I don't beat you, I don't do nothing. Just like you said, you get to know your kids. A lot of kids respond to taking their stuff away, or a lot of them time out.
Or even like what I notice is with my child, like doing something positive, like, hey, let's go to the park. She loved to go to the park or go to the beach or something. She will do anything I ask her to do if I tell her we get into the park. Whatever she need to do to go to the park, she can do. Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be negative things to get your child to do things. If you know they love doing something, if your child love ice cream and you need her to go pick something up, you say, well, Anna, you want ice cream? We'll go pick up that shirt right over there. Watch how quick she go run and do it.
Or even Vane.
We've done that. We've tried that. I'm saying there are alternatives. I said that from the beginning. There are alternatives, but I said there's just sometimes the situations just call, in my opinion, for a spanking.
Well, I guess we just disagree on that. Yeah, I guess we just disagree on that. But anyhow, we done been well over, well, not well over, but 10 minutes over hour. I don't want to keep you all late because I know you all want to go watch that freak show what's happening right now. You're all probably concerned about it. I'm not too concerned about it, but it was a wonderful, spirited conversation, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you for taking the time out on this, like I said, big night.
Hot night.
Yeah, this hot night to come out and have this discussion. I greatly appreciate it. I hope, at some point, people that, subscribe to Beaton at least hear us out a little bit and get outside of that perspective just a little bit and at least consider, you know what I mean? Think about it.
Sometimes, yeah.
Just think about it. I ain't saying, listen, if you want to do it, I am not going to tell you how to raise your children. I ain't trying to say, Jayde, you's a bad mother or whoever is a bad parent. I ain't trying to do that. I ain't going to say this is how you should raise your child. All I'm trying to offer is a different perspective and a different outlook based on what has happened to people that have been through it.
And don't judge them.
No, I ain't judging nobody.
No, that same conflict resolution thing, that's judging. So
well, you say it's judging.
I need to go look at this.
I don't look at that side.
I don't think it's judging what it is.
Judging.
It's my opinion because, like I said, it's a contradiction. If you believe in violence, then I don't think you should be in the field of figuring out conflict resolution.
People who do karate can't do conflict resolution either then.
Actually, those people don't actually resort to violence. That's just a discipline they study. But in the streets, they would probably be the last person to resort to violence. And it will come out of defense. And if you check fighters, ultimate fighters, or whoever fight for profession, they don't want to fight. They don't want to fight. They will do that to defend themselves. But they're not going out picking fights or anything like that. So it's just a different perspective I try to offer. Once again, if you are listening, and I want to thank you for listening. If it's either doing Facebook Live, who was sending Jayde all them messages.
I want to read those comments.
Yeah, I want to read them too. I read them when I get home. And I want to thank you. And for those that are going to listen to the podcast on SoundCloud, continue to listen, continue to support. Please share it. We just want to spread a positive message and provide a different perspective for people. We ain't trying to tell people they bad or what to do, what they should do, but we want a better, more positive society. So we're just trying to have the discussions that are going to lead to that.
And we can agree to disagree.
Yes. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you for tuning in.